All right, hello and welcome everyone to this pre-recorded session for our Rightlings Peoples with the amazing Mel Kroeger, who is an experienced teacher librarian. She's worked at St. Aidan's, Surbiton South State School, and she's working at my children's lovely school, 8 Mile Plain State School. So we might just get started by you giving us a little bit more of information on yourself, if that's okay, Mel.
Oh, hi Yvonne. Thanks for having me along. I'm so sorry I can't join you all tomorrow. I'll be at my son's birthday party, but so I've been a primary school teacher for a very long time, and moved and studied children's literature. That was my major at university. Absolutely loved it. And then, as it turned out, later on in my career, I moved into the TL role and now become TL, and am absolutely loving it. It's where my passion lies. And I'm very fortunate that I have been amazing friends with Megan Daly from Children's Books Daily for a very long time as well. I used to work with her and also work a little bit with her on a platform with Children's Books Daily as well, which is pretty amazing. So, yeah.
Awesome team. Now, there's a question that I've got to ask. Sorry, I just throw that one in. And it's just, can you give us a little bit of an overview about what is the role of a TL? Like, what are the million things that you might do on a daily basis?
Oh, I don't think I've got enough time for that.
You don't. Just give us a quick overview. Like, what does a TL actually do?
Okay, well, TL actually does. So a TL, in my role, I'm very fortunate. 2/3 of my job is library lessons so I get to see the entire school every week, which is fantastic. And then 1/3 of my job is to be the actual librarian. So therefore, organising books and the systems within the library. So
and so when you do your teaching sessions, like how do they sort of look and how long do they go for generally?
Okay, yep. So I have, I'm fortunate I have each class for half an hour, and that's just purely just a lesson. And they do come back for a borrowing session as well. So lessons involve so many different things about research, exploring the library, how a library works, finding themselves as readers, exploring different genres, so many different things. Next term, I'm actually bringing in mindful reading. I've just done a Peaceful Kids course, which is fantastic, and I'm bringing that into the library, which I'm really excited about. It's an amazing role. I absolutely love it. And I'm very grateful at my school that I get to see every single child every week.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in every school, right?
Sorry, what was that?
It doesn't happen in every school, right?
No, unfortunately not. And there aren't teacher librarians in every school, and that's really sad. And I won't go on about that because I get to
but I totally agree with
that. But it's a role that's extremely fulfilling, and I'm able to, make an impact. For the love of reading, and that's where the heart of it lies for me, is that trying to spread that love of reading and just to help children find that love and see themselves as readers. That's my number one goal.
Yeah.
Do that, and sorry teachers, but you do come second. But that is my main goal. And like kids, read books in class. They follow the curriculum, and they read Del Toro Quest in year 5, and it is picked apart with the verbs, the nouns, and for me, I think that destroys the book. And can often turn children off of books. Yeah. And so this is my role, is to bring that love to the children.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. All right. Okay. Thanks for that. I'm sure we'll get to know more about what you do as we go through the questions. Are you ready for the questions?
I'll give it a shot.
All right. So we had a couple of people interested in how COVID impacted reading habits of students? Do they still borrow hard books, or are they borrowing more ebooks, or anything else you might have noticed?
Really good question. From my school's point of view, we don't have an ebook platform. And I've decided not to do that because I don't think it's quite worthwhile. I don't think every child has a device and is able to access that. But I know, speaking to Megan, her school has Wheelers online. And yes, she says that did obviously peak during COVID, during our lockdown. But then has petered off, and it seems to be that they will revert back to a book.
Holding the book.
This is it, exactly, that's right. And I've found that, like, I opened up during lockdown a drive-through library, and still had amazing readers, you know, keep on reading, and parents who were willing to support that, which is fantastic. And it didn't stop those kids who wanted to reading, which is really lovely. So yeah, in saying that, look, yeah, like looking at my daughter who's nearly 14, and I bought her a Kindle many years ago, and she prefers a book. She prefers a book every single time. So do I. But I think I'm old school. And the Kindle is very convenient, I will say that. But yeah, there is that turnaround where the kids have reverted back.
There was less access. If you have a device, you can use it, but really they seem to all go back to preferring their paper copies. Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, thanks. That's sort of confirming what I was hoping.
Is it? Yes.
All right, now there was quite a few questions around author visits. So what do you look for as a teacher librarian when you ask an author to come? So how do you pick an author? What makes you decide? Okay,
so I pick authors depending on the situation. Sometimes I choose an author because it's book week and I just want to celebrate the love of books. And but often it can be, I'll have teachers come to me and they want an author to come through and do something with their class that's related to the curriculum that they're doing at the time. So if that's the case, I kind of like choose the right author for that. And a good example is Samantha Wheeler, who I've had out recently. So a lovely teacher at my school had Sam out last year to do curriculum linked workshop with his class. And then I had her stay for the rest of the school, and she did all for them. Yep, which was amazing. And then he asked her to come back, and he's got a different year level this year, and studying the twits. And she said perfect. She had the twits workshop, and came in for an hour and did that. So yeah, it depends on what we want. Often it is curriculum because the teachers are asking for that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just for the love of reading. I love illustrators coming in because they're often hands-on, and the kids love to be able to draw. It was funny, I was only at my book club last night with the 5-6s, and I said to the kids, who's been the favourite author that you've had at school? And they all said Remy Lay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
he's a Right Links member.
Yay, Remy. And I really think like they didn't know about Remy before she came to the school, and I only had Remy come in just as I started at the school, and so they didn't have much background. But the fact that Remy came in and she drew with them and she explained things, and that really got the kids into her books. So that was amazing. So yeah, different reasons.
Okay, so saying, teacher have requests, is it usually the English or the literature side, or do they go, oh, we're doing something on science, so a book about science, or history like MDAC, or is it always English?
Usually it is English. I've had Lance Bulchin in, Mechanica Aquatica Jurassica, in which my whole thing behind that was we had a year 6 cohort of boys who were quite into gaming, and Lance happens to be the head of gaming at his workplace, and so I brought that in to really encompass those boys as well. So yeah, it depends on the situation.
One of our authors has got a book coming out that has a diverse topic. Is that something that you know, see coming up for requests, or that you consider, like, what around Harmony Day would you ever consider an author? Or...
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like diverse cultures, like there's a flood of books at the moment on these, and I think probably the things I look for, because there's so many of them out there at the moment, it's really hot, is that they are subtle and that they don't slam you in the face, but they've also got to stand out from the crowd and have a bit of a point of difference. So I think that's important at the moment.
Okay. So that's really interesting. So you would be looking at that. So if this person wanted to sort of, I'm just thinking about, you know, what we would do as an author, and go, well, we'd like to get into schools. How could I sell myself to a TL? Which you sort of more sort of go, it's a diverse story, but it's also got these aspects, and I fit into the curriculum right here. Would that help you pick that person?
It could possibly.
Yes.
And I actually
sway you.
Sweet. Well, I actually had this conversation with Megan today about having, you can get a flood of emails, and I know Megan probably receives 100 emails each week from different people wanting to look at their books and things like that. And I know as a TL, you're very busy, and to receive emails or phone calls and things like that, it can be very difficult to try and fit all that in. And often you can get a bit of a slush pile going on your desk of things that have been sent to you and that you often don't get to. And I think probably the key there is to probably, you know, possibly if you're new in the game, volunteer your time, come out to a school, say, this is what I've got to offer. I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
So just from an author's perspective, I totally agree. If I've got a new session, I would ask you, Mel, because my children go to your school, and go, can I please try that out on a group of kids, you know? Absolutely. And then I wouldn't charge anything. I'd be so happy. I mean, I don't like to charge you anyway, but I would find a school and say, please, can I try out, and hopefully have a sympathetic person. But what I do want to stress is that when you do start getting out, you do need to charge your ASA rates. Sort of just, unless you really have a good bond with that school, but you wouldn't go to every school and just sort of say, I'm here, just, you know, get my books, get me in. You sort of undermining others authors, because we are professionals.
Absolutely, that's right, exactly. And I think having an agent is probably key there, because that's, if I want an author to come out to the school, I usually go to a particular agent, a couple of agencies.
Can you give the example of the agencies you use?
Speakers Inc. is one of them, which has been really good, and often I will contact them and just say, hey, you know, this is what I'm after, and this is the date around that time, and they usually come back with several different options for me, which has been amazing.
Yeah, okay, great. And then from that Speakers Inc. perspective, because I'm with Speakers Inc., what you can do there is when you asked to be included Speakers Inc., is to add your links to the curriculum and where you fit it in, so that when someone like Mel, you know, is looking for somebody, she doesn't have to do all of the homework. She can go, oh yeah, that person knows what they're talking about. They know that it fits in there.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. It makes it so much easier to have it there on screen, ready to go, yeah.
Talking about the curriculum, there was also a question about have you got any tips on how to link your books to the curriculum?
Well, yeah, well, you can go straight to the Australian curriculum. It's there for everyone to access.
Yep. I totally agree, yep.
Absolutely, and there is a search bar in there that you can put in whatever thing you wanted to and see what links it comes up to, and you can link it that way. So definitely, and if not, you know, ask your favourite teacher, because every teacher is very familiar with the Australian curriculum. Absolutely, and it's always something. If you want to email me, happy to do that and have a look and see what.
But I agree. That's what I do as an author. I will go to ACARA and I will see what does this link in with. So is it important to you? You do consider the curriculum? I mean, if you just want an author talk, you might not consider it, but otherwise you would. Is that how it works?
Yep. Look, honestly, a lot of the times, I'm fortunate now that the teachers at my school do come to me and to say, this is what I want and this is what we're learning. And so that gives me a great, idea of what curriculum links I've got to meet. So
yeah.
Curriculum links are definitely important. And yeah, so, and like occasionally it can be, I want an author out because I just want the kids to enjoy this.
Yes. Yeah, that love of reading. Yeah. Okay. And okay, I'm just looking through my questions. Oh, what is the most effective way to approach a teacher librarian? Is it just having your head on Speakers Inc., or are there some other ideas about purchasing your books in particular, actually? Or it's both. Purchasing your books and getting a booking. Is it Speakers Inc. or should you contact the P&C or should you send you an email? What works best?
Well, this is it. Like I said before, emails can get lost, and it's a busy profession, as all teaching jobs are. And I think the best way is through an agency. I really do. So I like to support local. If there's someone local in the area, if you're willing to come out face to face and have a chat with me, I'm
ring ahead,
ring ahead, definitely on a day that I'm not teaching back to back. But it's a really busy job. So I think being with an agency is probably your best bet.
Excellent. That's good to get to these answers. Now, from your point of view, what makes a good author impression? What makes that presentation? What makes that person stand out and go, oh, she is good, or he is good, I'll have him again?
Well, like I said before with Remy, when she came out and she drew and it was hands-on, and Samantha Wheeler has done that as well. If it's a hands-on activity, the kids really enjoy that, and it sticks with the kids as well. I think that's really important, and it's also got to be, obviously entertaining. George Ivanov's come out to school, and the kids loved him because he was very enthusiastic. And of course it's got to be age appropriate as well. So
you don't want your usual teacher talking heads, because they get that every day, right?
Exactly, that's right.
It's something special.
Exactly, something special, something makes you stand out. You look at R.A. Spratt, she'll come in with a trumpet.
Wow. Got to up our game here.
Up your game, this is it. But yeah, so and also it's got to be age appropriate too. So some authors are amazing and they will do from prep to year 6, and that's fabulous. For me, that's very worthwhile. So it's good to have
so they might have various sessions that might work for this age, and then they have another one for that age, so you can get that person and have them do a couple of classes rather than getting 3 people into this.
Absolutely. For me, that's more value for money. Yeah.
All right. Great.
And also links to the curriculum as well. That definitely helps. So
yes. Oh, this has been really, really good. So that's the author visits. I'm just making sure that I haven't, it's sort of, how long is an average author visit? It's like, what do you look for? 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half? Do you sometimes have full day things?
Well, it varies on depending what the need is for. It might just be a workshop. Alison Rushby came out recently and spoke to our 5s and 6s, and she just ran an hour workshop with each of them, and that was she did 2 1-hour sessions, and that worked really well. Other authors, and because Alison's only upper primary, so that's all I had her for, whereas there's other authors who, I'd have for the 3 sessions throughout the day. So I'd have them for the whole day, which is amazing. But as long as they fit in with that age group from prep to 6. So.
Okay, awesome. We're going to talk a little bit about from a parent's perspective. We had a question about, for a school, a very specific question, with a qualified TL or a book purchasing budget. I'm just reading the rest. What are some ways a kid-loving parent volunteer could be of practical use? So you've got somebody who is a parent and she just loves reading as much as the TL probably and the children, and wants to be of help. Like what would be helpful?
Okay, Okay, what would be helpful? Well, something like that you started at our school, Yvonne, which is Book Buddies, which has been amazing, which is just, it's reading with the kids in the mornings. That's fabulous. And that's something that is basically self-led as well. So I know.
Come up with an idea, an initiative, and pitch it to the TL and see what happens from there.
Absolutely. This is it. Or pitch it to the school, the PNC, the principal, whoever it happens to be, whoever your school has.
And now I already know that this particular person has already done that. She's amazing.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. So let's say that she had a day a week and she would say, I would want them to come into the library. Would it be helpful or not? And so what could she do?
Depending on her skill level, and I love volunteers. I think it's absolutely amazing. And my mum volunteers in our library, but you know, I can just say to mum, go cover those books, and she'll go, I don't have my voice. But she knows what she needs to do, kind of like thing. So she's done it for years, and I suppose it's had that bit of training. You know, like I said, it's a very, very, very busy job, and yeah, it's hard, you know, because there will be an element of management in there on the TL's behalf. So if you
at one time at our school, and I don't know if that was before your time or during your time, we had a group of parents, and there were so many books that had to be contacted, and they would spend a couple of hours once a week, and they would just contact and then go home.
Perfect. And it's lovely when there's other parents, they can sit down together and do it together as well and have a bit of a group thing. So yeah, my mum.
Sorry.
So as I say, my mum's kind of like taken over the job of covering. She does that at home, and then she comes in. I keep her very busy.
Yeah. It's amazing. So it might be worthwhile saying, you know, talk to your TL and say, what is it that you need work? You know,
how can I support you?
Yeah.
I think is probably the best way to start that conversation, and see what happens from there.
Okay, all right. We had some really funky questions about children's interests in reading. So there was a question, does everyone still love Captain Underpants?
Well, that's interesting. Look, there's peaks and troughs with all books. Graphic novels are hot books at the moment, and you know,
if your library doesn't have a graphics novel section, fix it.
Yes, exactly. That's right. Sorry, my lights are flickering. I don't know why. Absolutely, graphic novels, and that was the first thing I did when I came into our library at 8 Mile Plains. Was I put in a graphic novel section, and I spent a lot of the PNC money on graphic novels. But it's made such a difference, and the kids love it, and it's really got those kids who didn't see themselves as readers to really be part of the library and part of that culture, which is lovely.
Another a good question. Is there a trend in themes among junior fiction and middle grade readers, apart from the graphic novels?
Oh, you know, and I think it depends. Like I could say, yes, this is really hot at my school at the moment, but it can vary from place to place. It really, and I think that really comes down to a TL selling a book, selling a genre, selling an author. It all depends on that. So, yeah.
So are new works getting as much action or attention as the old favourites?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's funny. I had a beautiful little boy who came in the other day and said, "Oh my God, Mrs. Kroeger, I read this book and it was a tree, and the author is Ina." And I was like, okay. And he's trying to describe the cover to me and whatever. Finally worked it out. Enid Blyton, Faraway Tree. And I was like, great, a classic. That's fantastic. You know, so look, the classics are still there, and I still have the classics in the library, and I talk about them a lot, but you know, there's so many wonderful new things as well. So look, I suppose new does overbalance the classics, but the classics are still there at the heart of it all.
Right. And so do you get English teachers or departments asking for recommendations for set texts?
All the time. All the time. And I think because the school that we have a lot of multi-age classes. So things that they studied last year can't be done the next year with that year group because there might have been a multi-age. So so it's important to keep that interest up with the kids. And I search high and low to find the right book and ask all my brains trust people, and they're probably sick of hearing from me. I need a book for this. Yeah. So definitely, yeah. And I know there was a question about wonder was done in year 5 and year 7.
Yeah, so this one person had daughter reading Wonder in year 5 and year 7 and was wondering, do they know about any other Australian books?
Well, this is, I find it quite strange it's done in year 5. Year 7 I can understand, but anyway, and obviously that was probably a crossover from a primary to a secondary school, so maybe they weren't aware what had been previously been studied, and that's something that we really keep track on, and you should as a teacher librarian, for what has been, because new teachers might come in, and teachers come from different year levels and they don't know, so it's a matter of keeping track of that. So yeah, but I suppose with that year 5 and year 7, different elements of the book probably were, looked at, investigated at depth, and, depending on the age group as well. So they probably looked at different things. So
it had a different sort of focus with that.
Yeah.
So the same person would also like to know, is there something we can do as parents, I'm assuming, and authors, to educate them, I'm assuming the teachers, without being annoying? So is there a way, I don't know if I'm interpreting this question quite right, but as a parent, if you see a teacher using the same old text, or you think that might not be appropriate, or they have them used again, is it okay for a parent to say something to a teacher, or maybe the TL, or would it be very annoying?
Oh. Well, look, I'm hoping that an experienced teacher or TL realises that the book's been done before and would be able to say, well, we're using it for this particular reason this year. So it might have been surface level this year, but this year we're going to take it to this. So yeah, it just depends. So
okay. And another question, is there room and readership for quieter and more challenging books? So there is her daughter, who's in year 7, wants to read Jacqueline Wilson, Raina Telgemeier, and Karen McManus, which she's fine with, because she liked light books at that age too. But if she hadn't been forced, this parent, to read more challenging books a year at school, she wouldn't have, and she would have missed out on Anne Frank and The Outsiders and The Lord of the Flies. So all quiet on the Western Front. Okay, so are kids forced to read outside their comfort zones these days?
Oh, they are, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, they are. So, and that becomes part of the curriculum, where they are reading those types of things. So
I guess it also got to depend on your TL and the teacher that you have, who will, you can have a teacher one year, which one of my children had last year, is passionate about reading and books and always bringing new things in. And you might have a teacher who might have a slightly different focus or less knowledge in that area, because, they're all different, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And yes, I couldn't agree more. And, and I feel as though that's my job as a TL, is to pick up where maybe the classroom teacher, isn't as passionate, and that's all right. That's where I need to bring that passion in. So,
yeah. And I know that in the library you will have a special bookcase for the grade 6s that are a little bit more challenging and maybe not appropriate for young readers. So you might put some of those stories in there, or
absolutely, yeah. So we've actually, you may have not seen it. We've changed the library around a little bit, so we've got a really lovely flow where we go from our junior fiction, so our picture books, and then it goes to our easy fiction, so our beginning chapter books like Billy Big Brown and all those types of ones, and then it flows, and this is physically, to then fiction, and then at the very end we've got senior fiction, plus we've got integrated into that our non-fiction, so we've got a junior non-fiction section as well. And also then we've got our normal non-fiction. So we've got this really lovely flow at the moment in the books, and the kids are very aware, even the preppies are aware that that's the year 6 shelf. And when I'm in year 6, I'm allowed to borrow from that, and that's so exciting. So that's something to aim for, which is really nice, yeah.
And I notice what you do as well is that you get newer books, or books that you think might not get as much attention, but they deserve it. You'll put them out on your little easels.
Yes.
So you always have your highlighted books, and you change that around quite often. So that's another way that you sort of get children interested in those sort of books. Do you recommend books to children as a tip?
Oh God, totally. And I love during my borrowing session. So one of our biggest borrowing days, which is back-to-back borrowing. Fortunately, I've got a beautiful teacher aide who works in our library. And also my mum volunteers on that day. So I'm so fortunate that I have them both on the computers, but the children do self-checkout, but they're just observing. And I'm able to mingle in with the kids, and they're always grabbing me as soon as they walk in the door. I need a recommendation, Mrs. Kroeger, you know, and which is really lovely. But also I try to target those kids who are like drifting off to the corner and keep an eye out. And often, you know, it's great now, teachers all, because they come in during the borrowing period as well, and they are recognising those readers who probably are drifting off to those corners and saying, hey, can you, you know, help this particular child out? And I definitely will make a beeline for them and help them.
I just want to say you've made such a big influence and change at our school in the reading culture, and it's been amazing. So a wonderful TL like yourself can make such a whole different culture around reading, just with your presence and and how you approach your job and what you do. So, you know, it's so invaluable what you do. Just wanted to put that there.
Thank you, Yvonne. I
Go on with the question. All right. Okay. So oh, there goes I'm a bit out of focus. I put my finger there. Oh, it's got paint under my finger. I'll get back into focus. All right. So some technical questions. What is your sort of your key selection criteria for deciding upon resources for inclusion in the library's collection development process? So how do you select what you put in your library?
Yeah, so this is like based on schools. Well, you would include like your HOC and your TL, and it's based on the curriculum.
Head of curriculum, sorry, HOC, head of curriculum.
Yeah, sorry, head of curriculum, HOC, sorry, I talk in acronyms. And then you know, and so what you need from the curriculum, what you need from the data, which is required from the, you know, from the school. And I know like St. Peter's at Indooroopilly, for example, you know, they have a policy on buying books in first languages. So, so it's really based on the school population and needs. And I know that our school has a vast majority of children, you know, I think was it 44 cultures they come from, which is absolutely amazing. And so that's something I'm really focusing on this year. I've actually had 2 beautiful Indian boys approach me beginning of the year saying, we want some books written in Indian. We want books that we can read to our peers and be able to translate them and whatever. So that's something I'm definitely working on. This is important to those children, and that's important to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's fantastic. And so do you have any things that you rely on when you make those choices, like what selection aids, and how do you research those news?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I spend a lot of time, like there's, you've got the book curator, there's Magpie, there's blogs I follow, and, you know, social media, Instagram, I follow authors, I follow other TLs. So there's a vast majority of print and online that I'm constantly following, keeping up to date and finding what's going on. I'm also a member of the Ipswich District Teacher Librarian Network, and an amazing couple of book clubs that I'm in where we read children's books. And yeah, so I get my information from everywhere.
So just thinking on the fly, so having a social media presence would be a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And getting your books reviewed is something you'll definitely look at. And okay, so that's a good tip. That's good to know. So you go really wide to make those decisions. So that's really great. You've talked a little bit about your development policies. I guess, did you want to add anything to that? Libraries collection development policy?
Oh yeah, so it's very much a living document, a development policy, and it's always evolving as the school changes. And it really informs you how you buy your books. It's something really organic, and it's yeah. So it's part of my budget at the beginning of the year.
You touched on it before when you sort of look like our school is very multicultural. So
Yeah.
we're looking at, so you
Absolutely.
do that as a team. You sort of look at where the school is at and look at it sort of from top down. Yeah.
Definitely what the teachers are asking for, what's headed in the curriculum, and I'm so fortunate that I'm part of curriculum planning, so I know what the teachers are doing. That is absolutely invaluable. So I know what's being taught in classes, and so I can support the teachers.
Yes. But that doesn't always happen, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Role. Yeah.
So, and I found that being in this role and being part of curriculum planning, it's enabled me to show teachers the vast amount of resources we already had in our library. It's not necessarily we had to go out and buy something new, because we actually had things that they didn't know, because they're so busy in the classroom. They've got so much to do.
That's right. So you can go, we've already got this.
Exactly.
And just a bit of a sneaky question, and I know this would be different at every school, but how do you get, I don't need numbers, but you sort of get a certain budget at the start of the year, and that's how it sits through. You ever use your P&C?
Oh, well, the P&C is amazing, and it's especially amazing at my school, and we've had full backing of the P&C, and that's the reason why I am at the school. We didn't have a librarian for a few years, and the P&C really backed to have it and raised money to have a teacher librarian, and fortunately we have a wonderful principal too, who was very much in support of that occurring.
Such a difference to have that supportive principal as well.
Absolutely, that was invaluable. But your P&C is an amazing resource. It's fine to whinge and complain and whatever, but you know what, go to your P&C, talk to them, be part of the P&C, because you can make a change, have a voice. It's really important.
And sometimes the P&C and the wider school community are not quite aware of what a TL does. You drop your kids off, you go home, you know what a teacher does, there's principal, but what does a TL do? And how important is it to have those books in your school? So if they have a little pocket of money, you're on a P&C, or you have some influence on the P&C, try to divert it to your TL.
Absolutely.
That's my message. So that's one way, and that will pay it forward, because then one day you'll be an author doing visits, and they have a very lively library, and then they'll look for your books.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, get behind your TLs and your P&C for sure.
Right, I think we're pretty much we're there. I think
we've covered it. Yeah,
I think we've covered it all, and it's been amazing to hear you talk. And I love your passion, and I love what you do. And I think it's been very valuable for the Right Links members to have a idea of how it works, how they can be supporting a librarian, but also how they can get out there as authors and illustrators, and how to get engaging book visits. If they've got any questions, do you mind if I send you an email if they have a follow-up, if I've forgotten something majorly important?
Absolutely. Please send it through, Yvonne. Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll blow you a kiss. Right Links applause. So I'll give you to that. Pretend that there is, 40 other people sitting there, and we're all waving our hands at you. Thanks for being you. Thanks for being a teacher librarian, and for valuing reading, and for valuing us authors and illustrators.
No, thank you, and thank you to all the amazing up and coming authors, and already authors and illustrators that are in Right Links. You're an amazing group and support each other so well, and I follow you on Facebook and see all the wonderful things that you do, Yvonne and Jenny Stubbs, and all the awesome people that work behind the scenes, and it is amazing. So thank you.